For the technology lesson plan, I decided to focus on the standards that address the Cold War unit. This unit expects the students to understand the Iron Curtain, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Berlin Airlift, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Joseph McCarthy and Nikita Khrushchev, along with the Cuban Missile Crisis. To introduce this unit and the project, I created an Adobe Spark. This also helped give the students an understanding of one of the options for the final products that they could create. The Adobe Spark included directions that were written and recorded as well, so that the students could understand them in an easy format, even if they struggle with reading. So the unit itself is a self-guided unit. It expects the students to be self-directed learners. They have a variety of different videos, illustrations, and a map to look at in order to gain a better understanding of the material. This unit has several brain pops. The students have to log in using the school's login, therefore I didn't include it in the examples to see, but there's a brain pop for the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Cold War that the students can go through and practice with the quizzes. After that, I made a Google Tour Builder. So the Google Tour Builder really helps to give a visual of all the different locations that are affected in this unit. The students can see that this was a global issue and not just something that lasted between the US and the Soviet Union. So as they go through the units or the different locations, they have both visuals and videos to help them. The students are expected to take notes to help understand the material from these locations and these events that happen in the world. And once they feel that they are confident with the material and they've taken sufficient notes, have a good understanding, there's a quiz that has a variety of different questions on GoFormative that the students can use. There's multiple choice questions. There's an audio response question, extended response questions, a sequencing question, short answer, multiple choice, and true/false. Prior to taking the assessment, I planned a conference with the students, individually or in small groups, to get an idea of who's understanding the material and who needs remediation. It is a co-taught class, so I do expect to be pulling small groups for remediation of the information and to help them to understand it to get a little bit better. So once the students have completed the research portion, this is when they'll move into the project portion. So the students can see they have 5 choices for the projects. Now the projects should address the following questions. So the students need to work in groups to analyze what specific event was the US's involvement the most critical for and why. I want them to address the other events and explain why they did not choose those events, why they feel like they're not as critical as the event that they chose. And then I want the students to consider, how would the world be different if the US did not get involved, or if there was a different outcome from the event that they chose. And I want them to think about, how would your life be different today? I wanted to offer some differentiation, some choice to the students in their final product, so they can do a movie using the iPads. They can create podcasts using Anchor.fm. They can write up a speech, and then they can actually read the speech out and present it that way. They could create a news article as if it were a newspaper, or they can create 5 different propaganda posters. They can use Sway, or they can use the Adobe Spark, since it was introduced during the directions. And the posters are really there just to represent their answers in ways to try to convince the readers to align with their beliefs. Another aspect of this project is that it will involve a Skype conversation with a veteran that served in the military during the Vietnam War to help gain that more real-world connection with the material. The students have a rubric that goes over the content knowledge, their explanation of the event, the reason for not choosing other events, creativity, that's in reference to recreating history, so their alternative to what happened if the US didn't get involved or if a different result had occurred, including visuals, and then the overall neatness of the project. Implementing the project, I think this was a big project for the students to take on, especially because most of our previous assessments have been consisting of DOK 1 and 2 questions. So really that recall and retell, the students haven't really been pushed that much this year for those higher order thinking skills. So I definitely think that it was a challenge for them. In the future, I would say maybe building up to a project of this length. So introducing the students to a self-learning model, and then progressing, increasing the difficulty of the questions throughout the year, incorporating projects throughout the year. So by the time they do get to an all-encompassing project like this, it won't be as difficult for the students to master. Another possibility I think that could have maybe helped is reducing the amount of new technology that's being introduced to the students. I think that would help to have less questions, or maybe incorporating more tutorial videos for the students. But overall, I think that the project really helped the students to get engaged into the material, and I definitely look forward to tweaking it and using it again next year.